Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders podcast. Today, I am really excited because I have a special guest. I've been looking forward to this moment to have a very interesting conversation with Ella. So, Ella, thank you so much for joining us today on this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Actually, Ella, I've been to, and we'll speak about what you do. And I saw you speaking, and I saw you facilitating. And since the moment I first saw you, I was like, I want to have a conversation with this woman. I want to have a one-on-one, deep conversation with Ella. And I think the podcast is the best opportunity to do this because not only we're having a conversation, but everyone else gets to hear what we're saying. So. I'm very excited to go deep dive into everything that you do and the amazing work that your organization does. But before we do that, before we do a deep dive, I would like to share with everyone who you are, for whoever doesn't know you yet. So Ella is one of the four founders of the fourth quarter, just like Q4, which is Israel's largest grassroots movement, which includes citizens from all sectors of Israel's society and across the political spectrum. The fourth quarter focuses on what unites the citizens of Israel rather than what divides them, even when they have different opinions, which is not easy, as we know. This movement was born in 2022 when Israel was facing an internal trust crisis that divided the society and weakened its ability to defend itself against external threats. The four founders decided to start this movement to ensure that the state of Israel would prosper in the fourth quarter of its existence, meaning before it reaches its 100th year, aligned with the vision of the Declaration of Independence as a national home for the Jewish people and a model state that is a light unto the nation of the world. Ella is one of the four founders. She is the CEO of Q4 Israel. She lives in Ramat Gan. She's married to Gilad and is the mother of Roni and Ella. So that is really, in a very quick nutshell, who you are, Ella. And before we dive in, what you do in Q4 and everything that we want to ask and we want to know more about, I cannot start this podcast episode without talking about everything that we're going through as a country, as a people, as a nation, with our hostages that are coming home. And I want to hear from you. How are you going through this exciting times at Q4, as an organization, and maybe even you on a personal level?
Yeah. Well, I have to say that I heard something a few days ago that really described exactly what I'm feeling. Someone said that in Israel these days, you have to create a new name for a new feelings, because we feel at the same time such a joy, and we're very relieved and feel hopeful, and on the other hand we're very worried and we're depressed, and it's all together, and it's shocking. It's like you just can't believe that you're feeling all of these feelings in the same minute. So this is one thing. But I think that something very important happens in these days for all the citizens in Israel, because it doesn't matter if you thought that the deal was the right thing to do or it wasn't the right thing to do. We know that we are building the ethos of Israel for the next decade or two, because this is where the story of Israel is being written, and this is really historic times for us. And I'm living from the one Saturday to another Saturday, waiting to see the other hostages that are coming.
And definitely, I so resonates with what you're saying. Definitely, and I mean, I'm happy that we can start this podcast with a smile on our face and with exciting news. Not too long ago, it was always, we have to remember. I mean, we still have to remember everyone else who is there. But like you're saying, it's such a mix of feelings, and we have some reasons to be happy and to be relieved. And we're still waiting for the rest of the hostages. But you're talking about the ethos of our country, and you're talking about citizens being united. And I wanted to read this bio because it was also explaining who you are and what is Q4 standing for. But I would love for you to take us back to the beginning. In 2022, maybe even before. We only know about 2022, but maybe it started before. I think I saw somewhere a picture of you sitting at a dining room table with 3 other guys. And apparently that's where it all started. And I love to hear those stories because, we all have those ideas. I also have a movement, and it also always started somewhere. And people who have those ideas, they don't know that sometimes, one idea can become the biggest grassroots movement of Israel. So can you take us back to that moment, into those conversations? What did you say? How did it happen? Tell us more.
I have to say, it was a process that took, I think, a year. It was the 4 of us, me and my 3 other partners, that we knew from another organization. 2 of us worked in this organization. The other 2 were network members of this organization, and we had meetings once every other week, and we talked about Israel. This what we met in an NGO that works with the elites of Israel, and we started to feel like we're doing something very important with the leadership of the elites, diverse elites from all around Israel. But we started to analyze what we're seeing in Israel, and it was before the judicial reform. It was even a different prime minister. It wasn't Benjamin Netanyahu, it was Naftali Bennett. But we had, I think we were after the 4th election in Israel in 2 years, and we were after Shomer Chomot, the riots in May. And we were after COVID, and you can go back a long way when you see a lot of events that happened. And we said something is happening in Israel. We see a lot of symptoms that we're fighting one another, and maybe the C. You told me that I can say it in Hebrew. The C,
the top, the maximum, the summit
of understanding this was the elections, that nobody won the elections. And you said, okay, we can't agree on anything, and there is no one that can take us out of this situation. And we said, what's happening here? And then we said, okay, maybe the problem is not that we don't have a good enough leader, or maybe the problem is not because we have, I don't know, this party or that party, and the problem is not this virus or other virus. This is not a problem. And we said, okay, there are 2 phenomena that we're identifying. One is Israel is entering its 4th quarter. And maybe later I will elaborate what does it mean, but we said, during history, and even the history of the Jewish people, the 4th quarter of the 1st century is usually times of big crises. And we saw that there is a huge crisis of trust in the world. And we said, okay, the only one that can start to fix this situation are not the politicians, as usually you think, but the citizens, because they are all part of the problem, but it means that they are all part of the solution. And I can tell you, you asked about a moment in time. So when we understood that it's about the citizens, we said, okay, so we have to learn about grassroots movement. But I remember that I came back one night from work. I worked there in another organization, and I came to my husband after we decided that we're going to start this grassroots movement. And I told him, Gilad, I have something to tell you. I'm leaving Maoz. This was the name of the NGO. And he said, okay, where are you going? And I told him I'm going to build a grassroots movement. And he said, okay, who are you going to do it with? And I told him, Yoav, Ori, and Nathan. And he said, what does it mean, a grassroots movement? Who is going to pay the bills? And we have daughters. And I told him, I know all of this. But Israel is in a great danger. And we are like sailing into a wall. And somebody have to waken everybody up and tell them, we have a problem. It's not yes, Bibi, no, Bibi. It's not anything like this. It's much bigger. And we need everybody to come with us. And at the beginning, he didn't want me to do this, but now he's very proud.
Wow, of course. And how can we do it without our partner or spouse supporting us, of course. And I love how you're describing the process, and saying that it took a year. I think it's very important, because people think that we think of an idea one day, wake up the next day, and boom, is here. But it takes a long time, and I like it when we also are taking a peek behind the scene and seeing that if you're building something, it's going to take a long time. But you said something interesting. You said that you watched and you saw that Israel was going to a wall, and that it could not continue like that. And usually, when people start a sentence like this, it ends with, "and we have to start a new political party," right? That's the usually people say there is a problem. We need to find a solution. That's the solution. We know what is good for the country. We are going to open a political party. So I'm wondering what happened when you were sitting at this table and you already identified that it was supposed to be a grassroots movement. You didn't go into, let's build the agenda for our next political party, and how do we convince people that we are the solution. What was different in the conversation around that?
It's all about the problem definition, because we invest most of this year in defining the problem. We said we're not going to take any step before we understand what is the problem that we're dealing with. And in the problem definition, we really looked at Israel, and we said, okay, we are in an era of hyperpolarization, and it's like the laws of the market. There is a product. Let's say that a party is a product, and the political system is a product, and the product that they are selling to us is a sum-zero game. Okay, nobody wins. So yes, the instinct is to say, okay, I want to go in and create a new product, but someone is buying this product. There are consumers. They are buying it by supporting their politicians in networks, the way we speak. We are part of this game. And we said there are a lot of good people that came to politics, and there are a lot of parties that said we're going to do it differently, and nobody did anything different. This is because the consumers wants to buy this politics of sum-zero game. So we said, okay, we have to go to the consumers that are buying this product, tell them, see, you are part of the problem, and tell them you have to start buying something else, but you have to create this new thing, because no one will create the new politics for you. It's on your shoulders, you have to do it. This is why we went to the long way of grassroots movement and not the short way of creating a party and go to the political system. But then we've become just one of many other parties that are trying to do good, but having a hard time.
Wow. Okay. So you said we have to go to where we have to tell the citizens that they're part of the problem and make them feel responsible so that they can also be part of the solution. I love that. And I know, and I think I've heard, I've participated in a few of the few core events, and I've heard a few people saying, yeah, right now they're grassroots and they're saying they don't want to go into politics, but at the end, that is what is going to happen. They will go into politics, and some of you is going to be, someone we have to vote for. So what do you answer to that? Is that really part of the strategic plan?
We tell from the first day that we had our first town hall with only 20 people, when nobody knew who we were, we told them, at the end, we'll have to make a choice. It might stay a grassroots movement that will endorse political parties from outside the Knesset, or it will always stay a grassroots movement, but we'll have some kind of a branch of political party. The people that will decide will be the activists of the movement, not me, not the other three founders. This is a democratic movement. We will analyze what's happening in Israel, and we will decide what is the best way in order to change the political system. I really don't know. I mean, we have democratic institutions, and the activists there will decide what's the best way to influence. We're saying,
well, I'm sure that whoever is hearing that now is, has a clear answer. And I think that it's a very honest answer. So thank you for sharing that. I still want to stay in that living room around the table where you said, okay, we want to start a grassroots movement. Israel is going towards the wall. There is the third quarter of our existence, and then you started distributing roles, saying you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Everyone is starting to take roles, and I wanted you're the only woman out of the four, right? Four people, one woman, three men. How did you decide, or was it decided, like why was it you that became the CEO? I know that Yoav is the chairman, and then I'm not sure about the other two. You can share with us their name and their position, but I wanted to hear, like, why was it you that was chosen as the only woman to be the CEO?
I have to say it was like in a mode of startup. You don't plan anything. I mean, we started this, I didn't know what I'm going to do. I thought that even if I have to clean the floors in order to do it, this is what I want to do. I mean, we didn't really know what we're going to do and whose role anyone is going to do. But when we started, it was Yoav and Yoav is the chairman, and we left our NGO that we worked in before, and the other two partners, Ori Herman and Nathan Zeliger, still worked in other places. So they said, we want to stay in the place that we work in order to allow ourselves even financially to survive. So we have to work there. And Yoav said he is the number one volunteering thing. He's an activist. He's not on the payroll. He's saying, I'm volunteering there. So I said, okay, someone has to build the operation. So this is how it started. At the beginning, I didn't even call myself CEO. It was me and another employee. And then it got bigger and bigger. And I stayed a CEO, and I love it. I have to say, I think that it's even a good message that the only woman is the CEO. We didn't plan it, but this is how it went.
This is how it went. So we're gonna leave the living room, okay? Because we were there a long time. We're gonna go out, and you just said in answering the previous question that it got bigger and bigger. So let's talk about, where are you today with Q4? Where are you with Arivon Arivi? What are your achievements? Can you give us some numbers? You're talking about activists. You're talking about different types of activities. I know, like I said, that I've been to a few, but I also am in a few WhatsApp groups, so I get all the time all the updates. But I would love for you to tell also the people that are listening, how is that Q4 is the biggest grassroots movement? What have you achieved until now, and where are you today?
Sure. Okay, so maybe the big title is that we say that Israel needs big ideas that we decide about them in broad agreements. Okay, not just big ideas and new ideas, not just broad agreements. We need them both. In order to do this, you need an infrastructure. So this is how we just build a machine. Let's give you the numbers and then how we did it. Today we have 168,000 of activists.
Yes.
That are they are activists in Q4. We have over 10,000 of super activists that are investing around 3 hours or 4 hours a month in different activities. And we have the leadership. We have 300 leaders in our leaderships spread around all over Israel. This is the numbers. And regarding brand awareness, in Israel, 25% of the Israelis already know fourth quarter, although we didn't invest a lot of money in brand awareness because it's grassroots. You have to go through parlor to parlor, people to people, and tell them, and not just the social media. So this is the numbers, how we did it. Two main were the parlors. We're having each month over 100 parlors around Israel. 50 activists, volunteers are the ones that are throwing the parlors. When you say, I want to host a parlor in my house, you invite 20, 30, 70 of your closest friends. It depends how much you have. someone of one of the activists that's been trained to do parlor is coming to your house, tell you about the movement, about the problem definition, everything that I told you, and then we ask them, do you want to be part of the solution? If you want to be, you scan a QR code and you join the movement. We also have town halls around all Israel. It's bigger. It's hundreds of people. Sometimes it's over thousands of people that come to the town halls, hear about the movement and what we're doing. This is how we got to a lot of people that came to the movement. And then they are organized in groups spread around all over Israel. We have more than 150 groups all around Israel, from the north to the south. They have head of a group, which is a volunteer, that organize them in order to recruit more people. We look about, they have to see which community is missing there. Is it traditional? Are we missing Arabs or ultra-Orthodox, men, women, right wing, left wing? What do we miss? And then they recruit them. And they do activities together. Help. It depends on what you need. You can go and help the farmers in the north, and you can go and make meals to the households that stay without the men that are now in the army. So you do a lot of kind of these activities. And the third thing that you do is the big ideas. We said, you remember, we told people the system is broken, so we have to understand that it's broken, but nobody is going to tell you how it should be. We have to say how it should be. So we have content groups that are creating new ideas about how the political system should look like, how should the judicial reform should look like, what are concepts in about education in Israel and economics and so on and so on. And in these groups, after they have some kind of suggestion, then we go to all of our activists and everybody is working on it. And for us, the goal for 2025 is to get to 250,000 activists. Out of them, 25,000 are super activists, and to have between 4 to 5 big ideas about issues in Israel that we're suggesting new ideas, but with broad agreements between people from different camps. Otherwise, it won't work. So this is kind of the system and the machine that we built in the past 2 years.
Wow. Wow. The numbers are really, really impressive. And I cannot imagine the operation to manage all this and just having all this in your head. Is probably a lot of information. And if I understand correctly, you're saying from all those group works that people are going to think about those big ideas, you want to have 4 or 5 big ideas, and that's when you will bring them to the parliament. That's when it will be given to the politics in order for, because people would say, okay, so you have 5 ideas, now what? So what do you do with those ideas? What is the next step so that they are implemented?
Everybody is asking if the next thing that we're going to do is going to the politicians and to the parliament. The problem is that we have a lot of think tanks in Israel that are bringing big and new ideas to the politicians. Our first audience is the Israel society, is my sister, your sister, I don't know, the people that lives here and say, I don't know anything about it, but I don't have any agency that I trust, that I can say I supported their suggestions. So we want broad agreements between citizens. When we have big numbers, then politicians can't ignore. But we can't have any shortcut because we have big ideas, but nobody listens to them. So in some areas, we just adapt other big ideas and we're just doing the broad agreements for them. And in other ideas, we're saying this is not good enough idea. We want to create the idea and to create the broad agreements to the citizens. With big numbers, remember, it's like the market. If the consumers are saying, we want to buy this and we are big enough, they will have to listen. So this is the first step. Yeah.
I love that you're saying that you're not taking any shortcuts. And I'm sure it is frustrating because you probably wanted to go faster and get to a solution already, but I think that this is the secret of the success is to take the time so that you're engaging those citizens in the conversation. That is what today politicians are not able to do. They're not able to engage citizens in the conversation. So that is really I love it. I think that it's really, really innovative, and I think it's a lot. What you're saying is what people have been saying that they're missing. But are you ready for another difficult question? Maybe it's not difficult for you, but it's a question that I think you said that you are talking to all the citizens. You're talking to ultra orthodox. You're talking to traditionals, and you said you also want to include Arabs. And I'm sure that you have that question a lot. As far as okay, we are the Israeli society, but we are also the Jewish people. We are the home of Israel is the home of the Jewish people. We do have 20% of Arab Israelis that are here in Israel, and you are talking to the whole society. So how are you managing if we want to have big ideas? Because I don't even think that in the parliament this is something that they're successful in doing. But how are you managing it? I mean, of course, having ultra orthodox and secular people at the same table is a challenge, and we can talk about that too. But I'm talking about how are you succeeding in including the Arab citizen in the conversation, and that it still stay a united conversation.
So I want to start with the sentence about the background of the way we see this. I think the challenge for Israel, I have to say for all democratic states around the world, is to be a state that succeed to manage tensions between contradict ideas. And anyone who thinks that he can choose a side and go to the end with his side is I don't know, it won't take us anywhere good. So, and there are a lot of tensions in Israel that we have to manage between liberal and conservative. Between I don't know, we want to be very traditional and we want to be innovative, and we want to be Jewish and we want to be democratic. So you have first of all to create a space that you can manage these tensions, and then from this place, we started to work. We said it was before October 7th, okay? And it was different times. We said we are not apologizing for being a Jewish state. Israel is a Jewish state. Israel is the place of our roots. This is the place for all the Jews in the world. This is one thing. But on the other thing, by the way, it's not just from the democratic perspective, it's also from the Jewish perspective. Everyone who lives here deserves equal rights. But we also said it's not just about equal rights, they deserve to have their own stories. In Israel, we're afraid about the different stories, okay? We don't allow them to teach them in school, and we're afraid about it. And I even understand it, but we said if we're strong enough about who we are, we can be strong enough by saying to big new ideas. And we wrote everything. We have it in English if you want. It's on our website, the New Israeli Story. The New Israeli Story have 4 elements. Israel is Jewish. Israel is democratic. Israel has a Zionism element. And Israel has an Arabic foundation. And in the Arabic foundation, we said equal rights, and we said we acknowledge your story. I think that the secret, first of all, let's go to the Jewish people in the movement, from the right wing and the left wing. When we said we're Jewish, very Zioni, when we said this, everybody was relaxed, and then they say, okay, so now I can really make room for other stories. For the Arabs, I have to say it's a different story. It's a different story because the price that you pay now to be a part of this movement is a big price. It's a mainstream Zionist movement. It's hard. So we don't have we have a very low percentage of Arabs in the movement, but in our leadership of the movement, we have a much bigger percentage, because I think that there are people that are saying, okay, we're paying a very big price, but we see the future and we want to be part of this movement, and we are the ones that are going to, create the path that nobody created. We're going to pay the prices, and we're going to say we're going to fight for our people in a Jewish and democratic state. So this is what we're doing. I think that this is a big success in a manner of writing the story and having a mainstream Jewish Zionist movement agreeing upon. But we have to reach to more and more Arab people. I have to say that after October 7th, it became even harder. But I hope that we will see the window of opportunity, maybe somewhere in the near future.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I have to say that the way you're describing the process of bringing everyone together, writing the story, what you said in the beginning, that if you think that if you're going to say I'm right and you're wrong, then this is going nowhere. I mean, I can hear how you've been studying the grassroots movement, but I was wondering if you've also looked into the feminine leadership, because when I came to I came to 2 seminars in Jerusalem, and I was taking notes. I was with a friend, and she was taking notes on the content, on the topics that you were talking about, and I was taking notes on the how you were doing things. I was very impressed with this feminine approach, which, by the way, doesn't mean only for women, right? I'm just making clear that it doesn't mean that it's only for women. Men and women can have a feminine approach. And I felt that everything there, from the cushion on the floor, from the round tables with, people bringing people together, from this amazing exercise that I've spoken about so many times that you do at the end, where you take all the questions from everyone. And the first time I saw you do that, I was so afraid for you. I was like, how is she going to answer all these questions? You had such difficult questions, because like you said, in Israel, it could be really hard to, hear those questions. And you were very calm and listening to all the questions and then bringing answers, which most of them said that if you want to be part of the solution, then you can do it, right? So it's a very feminine approach in that way, that it's not about being right or wrong, and it's not about, discussing with arguments, but more like bringing everyone together. And I was wondering if this was intentional, if you were aware that this is something that you said, not only are we going to be a grassroots movement, but we're going to bring some feminine leadership around this, or is it because of your personality, of you and Yoav, who, by the way, also has a very, very important feminine leadership? So is that something intentional in Q4?
I think that, first of all, it's who we are. This is something that I have to start it. But I have to say that when I analyze the challenges of Israel and, again, the democratic states all around the world, I think that this is the era of feminine leadership by men or women, because this is what we need now with the diversion and hyperpolarization. And when we don't know a lot of things, there is no one who knows everything and has all the solutions, and we're so different. So you have to know how to live in this kind of uncertainty and in this kind of tensions, and you can't be afraid of them. You have to put some kind of frameworks and some way of thinking, and tell everybody it's okay. This is the boundaries, but inside the boundaries we can argue, and we have rooms for a lot of different ideas. And we're there with you. We don't have all the answers. We have some of the answers. And I think that this is the way that we can solve a lot of the challenges in the world. And I think I agree with you that this is usually feminine leadership that men and women can have. And I think that there are areas that you need a man leadership. But this is not the times that we're living in. the times that we're living in, we really have to make sure that we have this kind of qualities in our leadership. And without it, I think that we will go to very dangerous places.
Yeah, as we saw, as we see,
Yeah.
as we're seeing. So yeah, thank you so much. And I want to ask you also, when you said we're talking about the Jewish people, we're talking about the Jewish people around the world. And this is something that I think our listeners are mainly English speaking. Some of them are in Israel, some of them are abroad. We are talking to Jewish women around the world. So this is a very international conversation. And I was wondering, what is your position as the Q4 with how do you include all the Jews from around the world in that story of Israel, which is, a country and a nation, but we also have Jewish people outside who want to be part of that, outside of Israel, but not outside of the Jewish people. Who want to be part of that story. So how is Q4 integrating them?
So this is something that we really wanted to promote before October 7th, but after October 7th, it became very clear. The new Israeli story and the new Jewish story must be written. I think that we saw on October 7th, I will never forget, we had a very short flight to Boston. I think it was on December 23. And we met with professors from Harvard after all the everything that happened there. There were Jewish professors, and they told us, it's not 1933 today. We have the state of Israel, and we're feeling alone. We need you. We need to feel that not you. You used to think that you need us to stand with you. But we also need you to stand with us. There is a state of Israel, a strong state of Israel. Remember this. And for me, it was a very crucial moment, because then I understood the relationship in a different way. And I think that this is the window of opportunity for the state of Israel and the Jewish diaspora around the world. We need to write together the updated story of the Jewish people, in an era that we have a state, and in an era that we're facing a lot of challenges and anti-Semitism in the world. And I really do believe, not because we're better, but because this is some kind of an ancient mission. We want to bring to the world light, and we want to bring really new ideas and solutions to challenges that nobody solved before. And I think that diversity is a very big challenge for the whole world. And I think that the story of the Jewish people, that was a minority and now is a majority in its own state, that can understand all the angles, is something very crucial. And in Q4, what we are trying to do after we wrote the Israeli story with Israelis is now reaching to our friends in the world and tell them, we now need a new chapter. The new chapter is the story of the Jewish people, and we have to write it together. And this is our new or next mission that we're having, because we need to broaden the story.
Wow, amazing. I love it. I am signing. I have to tell you that, as you know, and as a lot of our listeners know, I also have a grassroots movement and a global network with thousands of women where I volunteer quite a lot, and I have to stop myself from coming and volunteering at Q4 because I'm so attracted by this mission. And I'm always reminding myself, okay, there's a time for everything. And that's why I'm very happy to share everything you're saying, because I think it's so important to hear that. And you actually answered my last question, which was, how can Israel be a model for other nations, which we know everyone is going through a crisis. Politics is not working anymore. People are not feeling that they're being heard and being represented. And so I think that, we are the startup nation, and it could very well be that Q4 will bring an innovation, even in the way that countries are being managed in this very, very challenging time. Ella, I really want to thank you for your time, for your work, for the whole team behind. I know there's a big team behind you, and you're doing amazing work. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. I do want to offer an opportunity for people that are listening to us. if they want to be part of it, or they want to hear more, or they want to join as activists. I think that there is a website where they can go and they have content in English. Is that right?
This is right. We have a website, the content in English, and ways that you can be involved, and we'll be very happy to have you with us.
Exactly. You can really connect to the website. So I'll give the link to the website, but we'll also put it in the content of the podcast. It's www.q4israel.org.il, and we'll also add it to the I will add it also to the podcast. I want to end with one vision question, which is, you kept on saying, we hope we're going to get there, and it's going to take time, and there's no shortcut, and we're doing the work. How do you envision, if you had to take like a 5-year, or what does it look like, Q4, doing the work in Israel? Like, what is your long-term plan, and how are you seeing the end, or not the end, but the long-term plan for Israel and for Q4?
I imagine Israel. Okay, it's really not about Q4, and I imagine Israel. I see my daughters, and I try to imagine in what country I want them to live, and I see Israel in 10 years from now as a country that everybody, first of all, feels like they belong to. Everybody, Jewish, Arabs, ultra-Orthodox, secular, religious Zionist, everybody feels like they belong to the country. Everybody feels safe to walk in the streets, in the Arab villages, to live in the borders. Everybody feels safe. There is prosperity in the center and in the north and the south. This is, I think, a big vision. In order to do this, we need a very really updated political system that works on broad agreements, that see a shared story, that doesn't fight only for its community, but fights for its community, but for Israel, for everybody, that sees this. And I think that I see people that really appreciate the differences between the people that lives here. They don't feel intimidated by them. They feel like it brings new ideas. It brings, everything become richer. And I really think that this can be Israel in 10 years from today, if we work hard and we do it right.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Ella. Thank you for your time, and thank you for everyone who's been listening, and we will see you in the next episode of the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders podcast. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ella.
Bye. Thank you.